Welcome to the warm-up presented by Ford. Chris Miles here with Brendan Haywood and Steve Smith. We begin tonight's show the story that has impacted the world and is causing the NBA to contemplate actions while one team has already made a decision regarding its fan base. This afternoon, the commissioner's office met with the union about how to proceed in the event of a potential coronavirus outbreak. According to Adrian Wojnarowski, the league is trying to figure out how to continue the season without cancellation or loss of games. The league has also reportedly been asking for arenas to provide their schedules through July. This afternoon, the Golden State Warriors became the first team to announce that their home games will be played without fans for the foreseeable future, saying, quote, "Tomorrow night's game versus the Brooklyn Nets at Chase Center will be played without fans. In addition, all events through March 21st will be canceled or postponed at this time." Steph Curry has missed the last 2 games with the flu. Today, he addressed the media regarding his absence.
First and foremost, is about protecting, myself and my family, and the ones that are around me, the most. And so taking care of our household and things like that. But outside of that, there's been a lot of fist bumps and safe space in between, having good conversations. But other than that, it's you just have to be aware as best you can. We don't live in a bubble, but you can do the things you can to protect yourself.
Steph, you guys are going obviously on a road trip coming in a few days, and a part of that road trip, you're going out of the country. You're going to be on flights. You're going to different buildings. Are you just concerned with, everyday life in that? All that comes with that, just going in different spaces and going in different environments?
It does cross your mind, just because you are, like you said, that you can't control everything. But again, it's about just being as educated as possible on what's going on. The latest, research and the patterns of how the virus is working, and again, doing your part to keep yourself and those around you as safe as possible. So, I'd like to just be at home all day for 24 hours and whatever, and quarantine myself, maybe. But we all have to do things that we need to do, and there's people that are reliant on the world working as it should, as best it can, and I think we're all trying to balance that. It's a tough thing for everybody. People that are out there working jobs that they can't necessarily take time off, they have to make hard life decisions. Like, there's a lot of things that everybody's dealing with in this time, and so for us to play a game, with no fans or have to travel and take certain precautions, like we'll do what we need to do, and continue to just be aware of what's going on.
Going through the flu, several days of the flu can render anyone's body pretty weak. Where are you in your recovery? I know you're set to return, but what are the things that you've experienced as you get set to make another comeback to the game?
It's just an energy thing in terms of being able to exert the energy necessary to play a basketball game and still, not deplete your whole system. That was the kind of discussion before Tuesday's game or yesterday's game was I able to get up and down the floor and break a sweat and not, feel any side effects or anything like that, or feel just exhausted afterwards. And yesterday and today, getting some good workouts in were necessary and ready for tomorrow. So timing was tough. Obviously, coming back from 58 games and getting excited about getting a rhythm, and then you only get to play one and then have to miss another one. So, I'm excited to get back out there on the floor.
What are you most curious about the environment tomorrow night?
Probably just the lead up to the first 3 minutes of the game, because everything about our routines, is relying upon that kind of game day energy. Pulling up to the arena, seeing fans, outside of Chase, walking around in all the Warrior jerseys, and even the energy in the building. You can feel it all the way through the locker room, through the tunnel, and stuff like that. So once the game actually starts and you see another team out there, it'll be weird, but I think we'll kind of get into that flow fairly easily. But just that lead up to it, there's going to be a lot of big eyes out there just kind of observing how different the situation and the atmosphere is. Trying to play an actual NBA game that counts with no fans in the seats. So.
There was some talk that the players might
For sure. Just try to make things as normal as possible. I remember the game in New York a couple of years ago. They did kind of an old school throwback game with no PA announcer, but there were fans in the crowd. That was even weird, where you didn't have defense chants or instrumentals playing or whatever it was. So it'll be. I don't know how they're going to do it. At the end of the day, once we start playing, probably won't think about too much of that.
Is there anything that you can do to prepare for that sort of atmosphere or talk with your teammates, or is there anything else that you can compare it to?
Nothing to compare it to, but the only thing is just try to have a conversation about how you raise your level of intensity from the jump, because you don't have that extra adrenaline rush of playing in front of 18,000 people like that. So that's really the only thing. Again, I know once the game starts, it'll be fairly easy to get into that type of flow, because the other team's going to be out here trying to beat us and vice versa. So that'll take care of itself.
I know it'll be weird circumstances, but how will it be to see Kevin back in the Bay tomorrow? Oh, he's not coming now? Oh, well, never mind.
Does he count as a fan because he's not playing? Ha.
Brendan, at the very beginning of that, we heard Steph Curry say, keep those around you safe. That's what this is about, as we discussed the coronavirus and the fact that the Warriors will play their game tomorrow without fans in the stands. You said something interesting, that he always gets it right. Yeah. Can you explain that?
Well, when I was watching him talk, and I looked at Smith, I said he always gets it right, because Steph is the perfect face of the franchise. No matter the moment, no matter the questions, he always has the right tone, the right words to say. It doesn't seem forced. It comes off natural. And I was watching him throughout that whole interview, and I was thinking, man, he is saying everything correctly. He's making sure he gets the right points across. He's not panicked. He's not going over the top. But at the same time, he's addressing the fact that this is a very serious situation that needs to be addressed seriously. So I think Steph is one of the best leaders, if not the best leader in the NBA. And because he's able to handle press conferences like this so well, that's the reason why.
Totally agree. I mean, you're talking about face of his organization, but face of the league. And if you want to model somebody of how to handle things and go about your life with a lot of success, we still don't forget he's a two-time MVP, unanimous MVP, but he still feels like you can go up to him and talk to him, whether you can or not. He just gives you that feel. He gets it right. He understands what he said, and he says in a tone and manner that it's kind of soothing and calming, that you feel good and you listen. Some guys, you look at them and you start to wonder, I listen, and you see me and Brendan wasn't talking when he was talking.
No, not at all. So the Warriors are going to play without fans. The NCAA has said for their postseason tournament that they're not going to have fans in the stands as well. Smitty, do you anticipate the NBA coming to terms to make a league-wide stance to kind of mirror what the NCAA is doing?
Well, I think one thing, give Adam Silver a lot of credit. The one thing about leadership is you come out there and you get out in front of it. And obviously you think about what's safety first and not the bottom line, which is the economics. I think what Adam has done in all these other leagues, they got in front of it. They're starting off right now with the Golden State Warriors. But I think what's best for the safety of players and fans, Adam would do the right thing. And obviously the NCAA is coming up. It's a different kind of animal because you have different people coming from all over. NCAA also has made the right move, in my opinion, because you have leadership. You got to make those tough calls, and you can't think about the economics.
Yeah, it's bigger than money. You have to think about safety. You have to think about your fan base, the players, everybody involved. And so this is when you have to say, okay, we understand there's going to be a lot of money lost if NBA fans can't come to games, or if there's cancellations of the playoffs, or wherever this might go. Same thing with the NCAA tournament. NCAA tournament, they make tons of money at the gate that they're going to have, that they're not going to get this year. But it's bigger than that. The coronavirus is something that we have to take serious. We're learning more about it every day. We're getting more educated on it. And until this thing has been taken care of, or until we have a better grasp of it, I'm all for being precautious. Yeah, and the league just had their first meetings today with the union, like we said earlier. But of course, they're going to have meetings with the teams and the presidents and the owners on Thursday and Friday as well. So each NBA team is evaluating their own situations. Okay, switching to the action on the court tonight. Zion Williamson and the Pelicans are in Sacramento to face the Kings tonight. Both teams have identical records, sitting in the ninth spot out west. Currently, New Orleans owns a tiebreaker with Sacramento. Let's listen to head coach Alvin Gentry.
We still have to get better at guarding dribble penetration. we got to keep the ball out of the paint. We got to do a better job individually of guarding our man. And we have to take away the turnovers. You're not going to beat the good teams when you have 25 turnovers for 30 points. It's just too much to overcome. So we're going to have turnovers because of the style of play we have. We just got to not have, the ones that the high risk ones, just the very, very egregious ones, I guess is the way of putting it, where you don't, there's no really need to try that particular play.
It seemed like you had a stretch early in the season where the turnovers were really high, and then they got it under control, but lately it's been back to high. Do you think it's just one of those like ebb and flow type things that happens during the season?
Well, it is, and I think what happened with us is that when we get up, we have a tendency to take, more high-risk plays, and I think what we've tried to stress is that that's when we have to be very, very solid, because then it gives us an opportunity to extend the lead rather than have these turnovers where all of a sudden now the game is back and tied.
So again, these teams have identical records, and when you look for that race to 8th place in the Western Conference, and the Pelicans and the Kings, they've played once earlier this season. Pelicans came out on top. They meet 3 times. So if the Pelicans win tonight, they own that tiebreaker. Brendan, when I tell you something like that, and you look at the significance of tonight's game, do you view the winner as having an upper leg and trying to get that 8th spot out west?
I think you have an upper leg. Your work is not done. But if you come out of this game with the win, you feel better about yourself. You know that you basically secured something. You haven't secured the 8th spot, but you know that you have a leg up on the competition, because there's a lot of teams fighting for that last spot. So when I look at these teams, I think it's going to be a very intriguing game. I think you're going to have a lot of intensity. I don't think this will be treated like a regular NBA regular season game. I think there'll be a lot more on the line, and we'll see those guys get up and get after it. In Sacramento, they've won 7 out of their last 10. De'Aaron Fox, Bogdanovich, they're playing well. I think this team has responded well since moving Buddy Hield to the bench. That was a risky move that seemed to pay off for this team. So I want to see how it's going to play out, and I want to see how guys like Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, how they do getting their first taste of really getting playoff type of pressure basketball.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a one step under the playoffs, and what I love is the matchups that you're going against a team that you're fighting with. This is going to be one of those that you're going at each other, and there's some young teams. I think if you look at these teams,